Hey nerds, welcome to Supergirl, Theories and Conspiracies. I'm Brian from Good Nerd Bad Nerd. So we had the Supergirl season finale, and I gotta say, all in all, not a bad season finale, especially after some of the weak episodes that we had leading up to this. I actually enjoyed it. There's some things about it that I thought were ridiculous, and there were things I thought that were really great. So first, the highlights. First, I love the acknowledgement of Supergirl being stronger than Superman. Now, this isn't something that the show just made up. This is actually a pretty common idea in the universe, and it has to do with when Superman came here and Supergirl, leaving when she was older. And if you want one different take on it, there's a Batman Superman animated story. Forget what it's called, but it's about Supergirl coming to Earth, and Batman, while he's running his tests on her, he posits the theory that Supergirl might actually be stronger than Superman, or have the potential to be stronger than him. And I'm pretty sure this is something that does come from the comics. So I liked that. I liked that Supergirl was stronger, and it actually gave a good, solid reason for why Supergirl was the one challenging Rhea and not Superman, and besides the reason that it's just her show. Supergirl clearly defeated Superman in one-on-one combat. She was the champion of Earth. It made sense to me, and I liked that's how they did it. Next, McGann and her telepathic connection with John, and then bring in that White Martian Brigade. It was great. I like that relationship with John and McGann, and I like that McGann is actually accomplishing stuff on Mars. It's not just, we didn't want her around for the entire show, but she's there, she's doing things, changes are being made. And so she shows up with the cavalry, and it was great. I actually really liked all the stuff with McGann. There wasn't too much, but I did enjoy it. Very similar to what they did on Flash with Gypsy and Vibe, but I'm going to let that slide. Next, the Cat Grant retcon. If you don't know what a retcon is, it means something, it's basically what comics do when they change something. They change a past thing, or they give new information that alters the facts, things like that. And they've retconned Cat Grant knowing who Supergirl was. And if you remember last week, this was a huge complaint of mine, that she figures out who Guardian is right away. But she was still pretending that Supergirl and Kara weren't the same. Well, she does know. And thinking about when she figured it out, I think she probably immediately figured it out when John was revealed to the public as a shapeshifter. Once that happened, I think Kat was like, okay, I know what's going on, and didn't say anything. And I think she didn't say anything because she could probably see how much stress and anxiety Kara was under when she confronted her about it the first time, and she probably felt like she needed her to feel like she still had that secret identity, because Lord knows everybody else is learning her identity. So for Kat to know it and not report it, I think shows just how strong that character is, and just how important she does value Supergirl. So I thought that was great. All in all, it's great to have Kat back. Now the ridiculous. First, speaking of Cat Grant, she's back. She moves into her office right away. There's no conversation with where Jimmy's going, what he's doing. Hopefully Kat's back. Hopefully she's back in a permanent role on the show in one form or another, because they're still trying to figure out what Jimmy should be doing, because he's not he don't go from photographer to running this kind of a company. So it'll be interesting to see how they explain that, and how much we do actually get to see her next season. But more things that just bug me this episode. Why are there so many people outside? This invasion's been going on for a few hours now, and people are still running all over the place. During the fight with Superman and Supergirl, they're seeing way too many civilians out in the street. Obviously, they want to show the chaos and the panic, but there's no reason why all these people should be out. They should be hiding. They should be kind of holed up in their homes. If there's an alien invasion, you're not going to see that many people outside. They're going to be hiding. That's just how it is. And then the last thing that was so ridiculous, this Decam Ore, or however it's called, it's a cool idea, this trial by combat, but there's no way in hell that Rhea should have been able to even compete with Kara. It doesn't make sense whatsoever. The power levels, even with the amount of solar yellow rays that Rhea had absorbed, they don't come close. Kara has a lifetime essentially of that, and it just, beyond the differences in powers and abilities, it doesn't make sense. On top of that, the fact that her blood has been poisoned by green kryptonite, maybe it's not fatal to Daxamites, which I don't even understand necessarily, because they all were raised under the red sun. That's a comics issue, but it just, I'm sorry, if you replace any amount of your blood with something that's radioactive, you are going to die. So I don't understand why all of the Daxamites weren't dying already. It doesn't make any sense to me. So that is, those are all the ridiculous things for me in this episode. What does that mean going into the rest of the episode and the rest of season 3? Well, before that, really quick, the one thing I did want to mention, silver kryptonite is a thing. Initially, when it was first introduced, it was revealed to be a hoax and not actually a real thing, but that was later retconned, see, they use that a lot, into basically being the kryptonite version of weed or drugs. It alters your perception, which is why they use this to make Superman see Zod, which was a very weak use of Zod, I gotta say. But it also makes them suffer from extreme hunger cravings and loss of inhibition. So it's kind of funny. But so that is a thing from the comics, even though it's had a past of being real and not being real. So, but the last thing, the tease for season 3 and who the villain will be. All we get is that it's an it, and it will rain. So there are 3 possibilities that I see for who this could be moving forward. First, Doomsday. Everyone's pretty familiar with Doomsday. He was a biological weapon that was actually engineered on like a pre-Kryptonian Krypton. So like millennia before the Kryptonians really had control of the planet and were this advanced scientific civilization, there was a scientist who was developing the most advanced biological weapon he could. And essentially what he would do is he would create it, kill it in one way or another, then clone it from the remains, and keep doing this process over and over until it was basically unstoppable. And because this happened so often on Krypton, it developed this hate of Kryptonians, and it was shot off of the planet and crashed on Earth, and was buried in Earth until it was discovered by, I believe it was a LexCorp kind of drilling and mining group. But that's one possibility. Obviously, it'll be a very different take on the creature if that's what it is. The second one would be the Eradicator. The Eradicator comes from the reign of the Superman. This was after Superman was killed by Doomsday. And it was an ancient artifact that was essentially designed to, like a time capsule, and it was supposed to preserve Kryptonian society and culture, but it was changed by a scientist to preserve Kryptonian culture by eradicating all others. Very similar to what you see Brainiac do in the kind of animated stuff, where he's just preserving segments of all cultures and then eradicating everything else. Eradicator was that, but just for Krypton. So that's another possibility, because that is also an it. It's not a he or she or anything like that, because that it is kind of a strange way of referring to it. Now, the third option, and what most people are leaning towards, is a character that goes by the name of Rain. Rain was another biological weapon. She was developed as what they called a world killer. And she, in part, was created by the scientist Zor-El, which was Superman's father. But the Kryptonian Science Security Council outlawed this kind of biological weapon, and they had to put a stop to it. But her and 4 other world killers kind of escaped the destruction of Krypton, and she had no idea of about who she was or what she was made for. And all she knew is that answers to who she was were found on either Earth or Krypton. So I think that's a very possible explanation, and it doesn't hurt that her name is Rain. So when they said it will rain, I think that's a very solid possibility for who the character is. So what do you guys think? What did you think of the episode? What did you think of the season at whole? And who do you think it is? So until next time, guys, I'm Brian from Good Nerd Bad Nerd, and this has been Supergirl, Theories and Conspiracies.